And those two accounts, those special project accounts that Kenny explained, once the CPC approves, those have been now listed out to provide
Yeah.
more detail. And then for your information, include the expense history as to how we have spent the money, the $200,000 to date. We spent almost $179,000 roughly. And that's been detailed as to where those expenses come from. Mostly related to the purchase of 28 Hartford Ave North. And then you can see the last 3 or 4 years have been related to insurance bills. And then, but there is a question, and I don't know, Michael, if you could help us. The last insurance bill was paid February 18, 2022 from this account. Doesn't mean that that's the last time it was paid on this account. That's the last
Oh, okay.
detail that I got.
No, I don't have any additional information on that. It sounds like, I thought I don't put words in Joe's mouth, but I could have sworn I heard him say something about taking that cost and paying it out of his town manager's budget.
I thought he was gonna do that too.
Yeah, but
But that would imply he's already done that.
yeah. And what, so the last one was 22?
February 18, 2022.
That was the thing, he mentioned that after February 2nd.
Yeah, and this is 2022.
Yeah, so it just seems that they would
It's
automatically
18 months.
pay them.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I was looking at the.
Could you follow up with him? Thank you.
Okay.
And also, I just want to point out that the list that Brian put together, I had a very partial list of the stuff that was included in the register of deeds and the stuff in more recent reports that Jessica gave me. That was what Brian put together, was extremely helpful.
Yeah, this is all from Jessica.
Jessica's great.
Yep. That's it.
Yay! You did very good, Joe. Good
Sorry
job.
it took so long.
Glad we hired you.
It was a town meeting vote that voted the money for the housing production plan. I just found
What was that, Maureen? You cut out?
it was a town meeting vote for the money for the housing production plan.
Oh, for 15,000 for,
I believe so, yeah.
okay.
They weren't
Would
sure
come-
of the money.
Maureen, was that in the last May annual
It
town
was-
meeting?
May 2022. They gave them a year to get it done and we did it, right?
Yep, and it was a Board of Selectmen's budget?
I think it was a separate article. I didn't ask that.
So it doesn't say where it came from, where the money came from. It just said it was appropriated.
It was appropriated.
Okay,
So we still have to figure out where it's appropriated from.
got it.
But this money would not be it because it's only a 2 years to spend it.
Right.
So, okay. Cool.
So the money's going bye-bye, huh?
So, yeah, we can get it back if we behave ourselves.
Hasn't been taken yet, has it?
Okay, any questions for Brian?
I emailed Joe those questions.
Thanks.
Definitely worth your salary, Brian.
Zero.
So the chair and the town report, that would be town planner's report. I basically was just gonna talk about the hearing, the 40B hearing of the night,
Mhm.
but let's let Mike talk first, and if Mike wants to touch on that, because he was running it.
I wasn't running it, but Bill Andrews was running it, but yeah, as the chair. But I was running around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kathy, you reached out to me, wanting just a description on Safe Harbor and what it would take to get there. So I was looking at 760 CMR, 56, which is the affordable and moderate income housing regulations for the state.
Can I just give context? I'm sorry. Basically, what this is if this town approves, if the state approves the town's housing production plan, which it has.
Mhm.
We just got that
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So the state has approved our housing production plan. That allows the town to qualify for safe harbors from a 40B project if it reaches certain milestones.
Yeah.
And so they don't just give us safe harbor. And safe harbor means a developer can't come in and plop a 40B next to your house. But we have to meet certain, that's what Mike started talking about, is the milestones we had to meet.
Yeah, so the first being the 2-year safe harbor status. In order to achieve that, 12 months prior to the filing of a new comprehensive permit, being the technical language for the 40B proposal, the town will need to have a 2% increase based off of its total housing units. 2% increase based off its total housing units to be dedicated as affordable. So to put that in real numbers, the town has, per the last census, 2,967 total housing units. That's all housing units. We have 189 dedicated affordable. That's roughly 6.3%. We need the 10% in order to be permanently in safe harbor status, essentially, right? But in order to get into like these periods of a 2-year safe harbor status, 1-year safe harbor status, within that context, if the town is able to increase its subsidized housing inventory by 2%, which equals roughly 60 units, 60. Within a year of a comprehensive permit being filed in town, the town can say no thank you to the comprehensive permit, to the 40B. Or the town also has the leverage to say, yes, please, and they have greater leverage to work with a developer in order to get what you want, essentially, or something that you think is a little bit more mutually beneficial.
So we have a 2-year, if this comprehensive permit as is for Main Street, 47 Main Street.
Yeah.
Is approved. We earn, because that's 68 units, we get a 2-year safe harbor.
Yeah.
You know, if the developer opts to change the number of units he's building as part of this negotiation with the neighbor, so it sinks below 60, we will not qualify for safe harbor.
It sounds like that is the case. I reached out before the meeting. I emailed Office of Housing and Livable Communities just to confirm as such, to make sure that these calculations are correct and what needs to happen in order for units to be officially on the subsidized housing inventory list. Do they just need to be approved units through the local board, or do they have to be constructed and occupied? I think in the case of a comprehensive permit, it just needs to be approved through the zoning board and receive the approval, but it doesn't have to be constructed and built as of yet.
Which will be at least 180 days from last week when they open the public hearing.
I think, but again, I'm waiting to get more clarity on those particulars. So assuming that this project goes through as proposed, 68 units, that definitely gets the town the 2-year safe harbor status after approval of that. Beyond that, if the town can get an additional 2-year safe harbor status, if it also shows to increase 1% of its total housing units. And that, again, it's always based on the last census. So it's not like this, future value of money trying to figure out, as it grows exponentially, you're trying to keep up with those exponentials. It's always based on the 2020 number. So 1% on that 2020 number would be another 30 units. So 30 units would then get us into an additional 2-year safe harbor status beyond that initial one. And then beyond that, if we're able to increase 0.5%, which is roughly 15 units, you get a 1-year safe harbor status.
we're getting pretty close to the 10%.
Yeah, we're pretty
68,
close.
and then if we hit 29, right?
We're at, ooh, sure, yeah, we're at 6.3% of the required 10%, so that's, you know,
So we need 297
Yeah, half.
units, right?
yeah, I believe so.
297, yeah.
No, we need.
I think he said that was total, but
10%, right?
yeah, 10% would be that.
10% is, yeah,
209.
297 minus 189 is what we need. Which is 108, and so assuming the 40B is constructed as proposed minus 68, that's 40 units.
And if we can buy time, we have time to maybe do several projects
Yeah, it's
that, you know, fit the character of.
a 2-year safe harbor status beyond this comprehensive permit is 30 units. So I mean, that would be, and that would, you'd just be 10 units shy of the.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah.
See, Brian, to your point.
So if we started that like now, which we are, you know, with a plan and, you know, Brian again everybody here has been talking about the need for a plan. So I think that will really, once we have that, we have a roadmap to actually start doing this, you know, the wheres and the, rather than just running around and.
Through the chair. That's really helpful information, but I am having trouble making sure I understand it. Yeah, I mean, I understand the concept.
Yeah.
The math, but like 2%, 2%, then 1%, then 0.5%. And as we develop that roadmap, I think if we could have like a graphic, could we have a graphic measure?
Sure.
That would lay that out, because
Okay.
I think that's also very valuable to
Mhm.
the public to understand.
Yeah.
This 40B goes through, now we're almost close to or actually we achieved the 2 year safe harbor, but it's not over. And we
Yeah.
still have, but it's a doable plan,
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah.
That'd be great, thanks.
Sure.
Through the chair,
Yes, ma'am?
can I ask Mike about this MBTA communities thing? Does that affect our housing or our affordable housing, or does that go towards affordable housing?
Yes, no, and maybe all of the above. So it's
Of course
the,
not.
the MBTA Communities Act is a requirement to provide a multifamily by right zoning district. It's not a, requirement to build units necessarily. Obviously, the hope and intention is that it would spur development of a lot of units. Now, assuming the town passes and adopts a multifamily by right zoning district, any and all of those units that are constructed as a result of that new district will count, assuming it happens within the next 7 years, on the 2030 census. So then obviously we'll have to make up whatever the difference is to get to 10% because of all of the increase in housing. The MBTA communities does not have a requirement to have affordable housing as a component of those districts. But it is something that they are allowing towns to address. So
They're limiting though, the amount of affordables you can put in.
to 10%, I believe. is
So
what it's-
it's either 10, I thought it was 10 or 20%.
You have to provide a like a pro forma in order to argue that you can do the 20% is really what it is. And that segues nicely into the next thing, which is I have an active RFP out for consultants to provide essentially that pro forma for the town. So doing the study that is required by the state if the town wants to provide an inclusionary zoning component on the new MBTA zoning zone. The where, and again, I probably explained this before, but for a quick refresher, inclusionary zoning is a requirement in a zoning district that if you are to build 100 units, market rate units, you are required by zoning to make 100 of those units, I mean,
20 of those.
make 10. If we're just going with the 10% number, 10 of those units have to be dedicated affordable, and only 90 can be the market rate. And that's obviously an attempt to keep status quo as you move along, that you don't have large
But we can
development.
say 20%. Okay, we can put that at 20%.
I think so. We just need to justify
We
that.
need to justify.
Yeah.
it, and I think we can.
We're actively working to, and if we can justify it, we'll absolutely propose that for any new language.
Yeah.
So that all is to say is that we're looking to provide that component within the MBTA communities. So that any construction that happens under that new law doesn't put us into a substantial deficit again with regard to affordable housing and the 10%, leaving the town susceptible to unwanted 40B projects.
And the
So-
other,
We provide affordable housing within those MBTA zoning things. That will count towards our 10%.
Yes,
well, except, I think one of the things, Maureen, is if we only do 10 for every 100 they build, we're only holding our own.
No, I don't want to do that.
So
Right.
if we do 20, which we
Right.
would have to justify.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that we've talked about, I think we've talked about at this meeting, and it's gonna be huge, it's gonna be a fight, is we're looking, Mike and I have been talking about doing an inclusionary zoning bylaw for any development in town.
Yeah.
So, and I think, have you hired did you issue an RFP for a consultant?
the RFP has been issued. It's responses are due next Wednesday.
Okay, so we are applying for a grant to figure out how to do an inclusionary zoning bylaw.
We got the grant.
We got the
Yeah.
grant.
I
Okay,
have the $30,000.
okay, so we got the 30,000. Okay, so we got the grant.
Mhm.
Thank you, Michael. And so the next step is to hire consultants. So the RFP went out to the consultant to come up with this bylaw. My goal is to get this on the spring town meeting warrant. It's going to be a push because as you can see from the 47 Main Street conversation, as people equate folks that move into affordable housing in Upton with migrants coming in from Mexico. So, you know, it is something that we're gonna have to work hard on social media and stuff to get past, but it will require, if you put up a new governor's landing with 110 units right now, that's gonna add 11 units to our deficit when that comes online.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if you do a zoning bylaw change like that, do you still have to justify like you would under the MBTA?
No,
percentage?
No. no,
Yeah. Okay.
no.
All right.
The only thing, it's my understanding with the inclusionary zoning bylaw, a lot of the development in Upton is not subdivisions. It's, you know, I own a farm and I wanna build, you know, 2 houses for my kids on it.
Mhm.
It won't apply. It only goes for, you know, my hope is for every 6 houses, we require
One.
and 1 affordable, and for every 10, we require 2. But I don't know what passes legal muster.
And also, it's important to keep in mind, the inclusionary zoning bylaw isn't always it provides 2 options.
Yeah.
It's the option to build and create the affordable unit.
Yeah.
Which a lot of developers do not take that option. There's the second option of, instead of providing that unit, they pay whatever that, the cost is, to create that unit is payable to this trust.
Yeah. So, you know, they would basically give us $250,000. It would go into the trust, so we're doing a different development. We can give that to someone who's actually gonna be building affordable housing.
Yeah.
So,
So this is existing law that,
no, this is what we're doing. Hopefully.
not in Upton, but other towns, do you have?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
very much so.
Inclusionary zoning, yeah. We just are behind the 8 ball on it.
And those 2 options are what we're looking at, or those are already in place?
Inclusionary,
Those are the only 2 options I'm aware of that are ever provided within this sort of rule, so.
so,
The other, what are the other two? I got, the $50,000 in grant money was just approved for, to do a feasibility study on, the reuse of Holy Angels. So I'll be looking at probably going out for an RFP for a consultant group to provide the town that early next year, realistically. So that was,
And will feasibility for housing be one component of that?
it very much can be a component of that. We can ask that. The other thing, again, is tied to affordable housing potentially because we just, and I'm going to an announcement tomorrow about it. Is we just got the approval, and I can share it here because it's within, I already got confirmation from the state. I can share these things within the confines of the boards. We got approved for the sewer and water to extend it
To where?
down to Governor's Landing.
Which opens up
Where's that?
Main Street heading towards Kelly's. You know where the rug guy is?
Oh, yeah.
It's right, it's there down. It's the old Stanton. You know, Phil Stanton had a big farm that went from Grove Street to Main Street.
There.
And it's all the way, it's the part that went to West Main.
So that's important for housing construction, obviously for obvious reasons, because it'll unlock potential down the road.
But also increase, you know, if they didn't get that, it would challenge their ability to move forward. So
Mhm.
it will increase the affordable housing deficit in Upton by 11 houses by the next census.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we didn't have an inclusionary zoning bylaw when
But also it for any development and potentially dense development in reference back to the MBTA communities, which is specifically supposed to be dense, 15 units per acre is the density that's required. That is really only possible with areas with sewer and water. So that gives, I don't want to say breathing room is the wrong term, but it just gives more opportunities. Yeah.
Is it too late to make that our MBTA community?
You're talking about Governor's Landing?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There are no affordable units there.
No, but for what you have to do, you do like 25 acres where you can build affordables, and ours can include that, which would limit the number of dense development allowed through the whole town. Because that's already got to come online.
Is Governor's Landing already approved?
Yeah, but we can do it, we can do the circle that includes, you know, we did it so that included Governor's Landing and went downtown. That would, you know, and that's a good area to, you know, it's downtown. You talk about vitality downtown.
Hmm.
So,
So I don't expect that to go far in the next 18 hours, but I'm going to the official announcement
Yeah.
tomorrow in Revere for that.
oh, have fun driving there. What time is it?
Yeah, it's in the morning.
Oh, you're screwed. Okay. Okay. So are you done?
Yeah, that was it. That was all I had.
Okay, next, just real quick, Brian, I don't know if anyone tuned in, Maureen was there, Brian was there. At the 40B, meeting for Main Street, and it got kind of contentious. Most of the people were very polite, you know, I think they were very, you know, there were some real legitimate concerns. A big one being water, so I'm not holding my breath, that's actually gonna go through, because of the water, so, you know, but we'll see. I mean, I can't believe that Lobister would have gone this far
No, he's not under.
without checking drainage. But, you know, but there's always a possibility that you may negotiate with neighbors to reduce the impact on the neighborhoods, which would take this project, which would not qualify us for safe harbor. But it would be good for that neighborhood. So, you know, I didn't stay for the whole meeting. Sure that Maureen watched me walk out the door. I know Laura commented on it. You're leaving early. But,
Because you were tired.
yeah, I can't hide it Upton anymore. But, you know, the interesting thing is I ran into two people at that meeting who were longtime residents of Upton who live in rental units, and they both have to move because their units are being sold. And these are people in their 50s and 60s. You know, so there's, you know, and these are people that have worked all their lives, you know, you're not talking about, you know, there is a demand.
Mhm.
I just don't think high rises are a person. Anyways, okay, that's it, but that meeting was there. Public hearing officially started. They have 180 days to make a decision that can be extended if the developer wants to extend it. And as Mike said at that meeting, oftentimes the developer does, to, you know, help fine tune it, answer questions and things like that. So, you know, that's not gonna move that quickly. Any questions?
Just a comment, Kathy. I'm not sure if you were there when the gentleman stood up and he is in 149, is that the
Yeah.
other?
Mhm.
And he talked about what that project allowed him to move to this town.
Yeah.
And because he was at the end, or maybe it was
Yeah,
last
I didn't
year.
see him there.
So I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
And he thanked, he goes, I understand all the concerns you have, and I don't have those because I'm renting. He goes, but allowed me, this chapter 40B allowed me to move into Upton.
Yeah.
Then he goes, and I appreciate the community, and it's someplace I wouldn't be able to live without that.
Did people clap?
Yeah. they
Yes,
did.
they did.
No, I think the neighbors after, you know, the first, like the shock wore off, have gotten very, you know, they've been good.
They've been,
You know.
they presented well.
Yeah, they've been good. Okay. So, discussion of CPC funding request, we have a public hearing. If we're done this, because I just wanna move fairly quickly through the rest of the stuff. I went before the CPC a couple weeks ago, and talked to them about the two items on the warrant. One of them is for $100,000 that allow us to do permitting work. And the other, was the $15,000 for the affordable housing plan. I'm gonna beg people not to say I told you so, but the folks on the CPC said we need more detail. Stop snickering at me. So we're revising the request, and I've asked Michael to help come up with something if he can't. I have some templates, and we'll be presenting public hearing scheduled to the 1st at 7 o'clock. I believe we are the two affordable housing trust items are the only ones on that. So if folks can either come or, you know, tune in, that would be fantastic.
So, yeah, I think-
Didn't they, oh, I'm sorry.
this week.
Didn't they agree to doing the housing action plan?
It was, we had through the chair, we had, the informal discussion that the CPC has with funding requests. So we already went and had the discussion regarding the action plan,
Yeah,
like you're mentioning. And we also talked about the larger transfer funds, which is now the 100,000. And so, yeah, it was just a general overview of what those asks are. And then we're coming back next week with the formal public hearing. So I guess that is their typical process and how they handle funding requests is they have a informal discussion first, and then there's the formal public meeting regarding the request.
thank you, Mike.
Was it questions about the 15,000 and that
The
study?
15,000, they
No.
really didn't,
That was.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Paul was somewhat confused, I mean, because he's never gotten a report from the Affordable Housing Trust. He didn't even know that, even though we've told him that the 200,000 had even been spent. In fact, I think his first question is, we already have 200,000. It's like, no, we don't. You know, so I think that the information that you've put together will be very useful in helping make our argument. And it's not a formal annual report, but it constitutes an annual report from the inception of the Affordable Housing Trust. So they can get a real clear idea of how the money has been spent.
Yes.
But I think a point that, Brian's been making, Mike's been making, everyone here's been making, is that what our hope is that this will become much more perfunctory in future years. But we have to build the credibility with the CPC. Or, because I think, we're on the same page with the CPC. And So,
The other thing, Kathy, might be helpful is that, and if you want me to help pull some of that together, is that the CPC is a very common source, and oftentimes for small towns, primary and only source of funding.
Yeah.
They probably don't know that, and I didn't know that until recently. either. So that might give them comfort, is that these types of grant or transfers
yeah,
are common.
Yeah.
And that's that third bucket, that reserve bucket is
Yeah.
usually going to Affordable Housing Trust.
yeah,
From my understanding, that's pretty much the path
Yeah.
of all those funds.
Yeah.
For the community housing.
yeah. No, yes, I think that would be helpful. And I think, I just think that, I mean, the organization has not existed. I mean, it sort of just threw up its hands and went away. And that does not leave a good taste in people's mouths.
Right.
So, I think that this group can quickly earn trust because we do things. So. Just means, Maureen, you're gonna have to stay chair until we get our acting gear and get everything
Well, I
together.
don't think I can do that, but maybe the chair could appoint me to the committee.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I'd like to see this through the end,
yeah,
although
Kathy,
there'll probably never be an end.
well, it'll be an end to the hope is there'll be an end to the threat of the 40Bs. And then we can get the meat of it, and providing real affordable housing and coming up with creative solutions and doing really cool things. And this opens opportunities for us.
I agree.
So I will, or Michael, you can just circulate those when you get them to the group. Again, no discussion on things outside public meeting. But, so for information only, you can forward the requests. And then if anyone has a specific question, they can ask you.
Yeah.
They just can't do it in front of the whole group
Yes.
because then we're violating a law.
Right.
RFP update for Hartford Avenue North property. Jean,
Well, there's not a lot to update, really. Do you want to know about meeting with Habitat?
just really quickly.
You were there, oh,
Yeah, but
sorry, you were
yeah.
there, weren't you? Yeah, I mean, I thought it was very, very interesting, quite productive, and it really gave me a very clear vision of what they hope to, what they would like to achieve if they do take this project on, and how they go about their developing their properties. So the RFP is, I mean, as Michael and I both said, there's not a lot that needs to change. The dates obviously need to change. Is this the whole? That's more than I. The dates need to change. Michael, we spoke a little earlier on, and he was questioning whether we need to retain the language about a duplex being built on the property. I think your feeling was it would open it up to more development.
Yeah, it was just, my point about it was just, I guess precisely that, in the, where was it? The development of the property section, number
Yeah.
2, and although everybody should have this, but I'll circulate it with my comments. My point on it was just, it specifically calls for requesting that the successful bidder propose a duplex. And my point was just that, why not have whoever's bidding propose what they think they can do? And then you evaluate bids based on what they're proposing, rather than dictating upfront it should and only can be a duplex. Now, I don't say that as a way to try to get 6 units on there. I doubt that would be possible or even maybe desirable. But if realistically it is a small property, I mean, I know it does have access to all necessary utilities, but maybe only 1 unit is feasible on the property. I don't know that to be the case. That was really all. Without knowing, my point is just, let's have them propose what they think they can do.
I mean, I said to you, my personal preference would be that they build a duplex there. I think, and I could be wrong about this, that it's more likely to be palatable
Mhm.
to the neighborhood if duplexes are built on that. And given that, Habitat were the only people who bid, correct me
Yeah.
that, in 2018, what are the chances now that we'll get more bids? I mean, it's possible, I suppose. But I don't actually know the answer to that question. So does anybody have any thoughts about that?
Does the existing zoning limit us at all?
That's the point that I left out is that it would need, in order to get a duplex on there, the successful bidder would need to either be the ones filing for a comprehensive permit to just get a duplex on that land, or it would have to be, they'd have to work in Congress with the town in order to submit for local action units through the state, which is essentially the town is co-signing on a comprehensive permit.
So it makes sense then to leave it open.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
So that,
especially if the intent is to just,
Get rid of it.
yeah, if it's like, this is just an albatross of a property, let's get it off of our liabilities.
So delete any affordable housing language?
I mean, maybe,
no, we.
maybe Habitat can still do affordable with.
Well, it's not
single.
necessarily, maybe if we just do one. I actually emailed a couple, Joe on that. And I emailed Paul Carey on that. It's like, can we just sell it? And Joe, Paul didn't know. My guess would be that we could, and just, if I were guessing. But I think it would take review by council and return any proceeds we get, which would probably be very limited.
Yeah.
To the trust. But I think what Joe's preference is, let's give this a shot. Let's send out an RFP
Yeah.
for affordable housing. Let's see if anybody bites.
Mhm.
And, and I think the less restrictions we have on it, the more chances that someone will bite to, build a one or two affordable units on it. And my question would be, and this, I just scanned the RFP. Does the town have the capacity to manage what's needed to get them certified as affordable units and on the SHI? Because that's one of the things with Lovis, he takes care of all that stuff. And if we're having a developer come in doing one unit, the chances are they're not gonna wanna do that.
So, the question is, does the town have the ability to run through that process on behalf of the developer?
Yeah.
It's gonna take a lot more,
Our
Effort.
hypothetical staff person. can
Yeah.
do it. Is that something that
It's-
NHP can do? Work with us on?
oh, that's a good question, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something I can fumble through
Okay.
with, you know what I mean, with
Okay.
given a lot of time. It's not something I've done personally.
Because then we can take that language out too, because that may have scared people off,
Mhm.
that they have to oversee the process. It makes sense if you're building a bigger unit, that you have someone who comes in and knows how to build these units and manage them and stuff, but we're building one or two units, and I think if I were a developer and said, yeah, I can do an affordable in there.
Mhm.
But I don't know how to get it on your SHI, and I can't do all this stuff with them,
I think, Jeannie, our conversation with Habitat is, it seems like they are well versed in
Yes,
doing
I
those
see what
things. Yeah,
Yeah, which makes them, if we're going to develop it.
Yeah.
That seems like, that's why I think they're such a desirable partner, quite frankly.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because they know what they're doing.
I'm not precluding them, I'm just, just saying that if we just open it up. So anything else in particular?
Well, one of the things, number one, the proposal is, that we and the trust will pay for the demolition and debris removal. I mean, have we?
Oh, yeah, we only got like.
Yeah.
Do you have a cost? Do we have a costing on that?
Yeah, we have a planning board meeting in a couple of minutes.
And there's nothing about a cost estimate. Should that be in there? Or why are we proposing that you pay for the removal of all that stuff? Because clearly, if it was a habitat project, we might work with them with that. Why would we do that for a private developer? That's just money that we don't have, isn't it?
Well, we don't, well, no, it wouldn't necessarily be, I mean, if Habitat bids on and wants to do that, that's great. You know, I have concerns about Habitat's, financing structure. About whether, you know, you and I talked about it a little bit, you have more faith than I do, you know?
Well, they do have a track record.
Yeah, but I don't know if they have a track record, they towns like Upton. But anyways,
They would have.
why don't you guys continue working on the RFP? And again, it might very well
I
be,
mean, my issue with the debris removal and demolition is we don't have any costing on that. We have no idea what that's gonna cost. I mean, this is in the RFP, but we have not, I mean, it's like, where you pick this number for the year.
Yeah.
We should know what that is before we put that in the RFP.
oh, are we saying that we'll demolish it?
Yes, it says.
Is that in there?
There is currently a single family residence on the site which will be demolished and the debris removed by the trust prior to closing.
Well, through the chair, Jeannie, if you remember, a lot of the discussion with Habitat was offsetting costs.
Yes,
In order
that's,
to,
that's why I was saying they would be a good partner for that, but.
yes.
But for some random
Oh,
private
right.
developer.
I think I made note somewhere in this saying, that one part of it was, seemed very, very specific. And what I meant by that was, it seems like this was created with Habitat. in
Yeah,
mind.
quite clearly.
Yeah. And some of the things such as like making sure that it goes to, somebody with income that doesn't exceed 60%.
Yep.
And not 80%, which is a little bit more broad and typical.
Yeah.
That's, I believe, specifically tailored to.
Yeah.
Habitat, because that's what they do.
Who wrote?
Okay, well, why don't we do this, guys? You guys, nothing's gonna be done until the next meeting. When did your sister come?
60.
So can you make one meeting?
It would be very, it would be difficult.
How long is
Like
this?
Thanksgiving, they need December the 4th.
Oh, okay. And so update on staffing and support, I've been told to sit down and be quiet. So we can talk about that more at the next meeting. In the meantime, Mike Shop has been volunteered to help us when needed. And then, schedule the next meeting. You want to schedule it for, this was December 9th is when is the first December meeting?
Of this.
The planning board, no, I checked the week, I do this before planning board because it makes my life easier.
Oh, Grayson sent that out.
I know she sent it to me.
It would be either the, 12th, the 12th.
The 12th of December.
Wait, do we meet the first? We meet the first week, right?
Yeah, but her sister's not leaving till the 4th, and I think this is going to be a big issue on her.
Just what they named it. It's two.
Sorry, she's coming from Spain. I haven't seen her in 8 years.
I'm sorry, we meet the second and fourth week. That's all. I was getting confused as whether or not it was first and third.
Second is what?
So the 12th,
Okay, so is the 12th work for you? 12th work for you? December.
December,
What happens?
Tuesday,
We're pushing it up to December.
Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, that works.
because I can't do Wednesday. I can't go to that meeting next week.
5:30.
Well, I should have developed.
I can't be at the November 1st meeting. I'm sorry, Wednesday night, so. I haven't something to do.
Yeah, let's see. You want me to do anything? I mean, I'll look for examples of.
We need to set up a meeting with.
Informal.
And, well, I'll email him and see if he'll put it on the agenda first. Can you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get the planning board up and running.
Okay. So we'll do that.
So just, you can adjourn the meeting.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.